Why do I keep being torn, caught up by all my demons, lost without the love, and I'm enslaved.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of On the Line Life Stories, where I speak to some incredible individuals who are related to Aston Villa in some manner about their life stories. And today I'm joined by a former Marine, a model, and a massive admirer for Aston Villa Football Club, Jordan McGrath. Jordan, how are you?
Not too bad, Liam. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. And as we can see so far, you are wearing, of course, I think it's the Dubai Lions shirt, if I'm not mistaken.
The Dubai Lions, yeah.
So you probably, like all of us at our homes, you've seen Aston Villa go on this amazing run, beating Sheffield United, Fulham and Liverpool. So from afar, have you watched the games, and which players do you admire the most from afar?
So, I mean, everyone, you've got to love Jack. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
You've got to love Jack. He's just brought the team leaps and bounds. I think I've got a special place for Tyrone Mings, obviously, with having defence part of the family growing up. But one player that I've always really thought was very special and key was John McGinn.
Yes.
His work rate and everything, I just think he's just an incredible for Aston Villa. He's second to none. So
looking from afar again, where do you think this Aston Villa team could go this season? Because bear in mind, they're playing games behind closed doors, and elements such as fans are massive importance come to football and can change games. So where do you think Aston Villa will finish come the end of this season?
Well, judging by the way they're playing now, I mean, and Aston Villa fans aren't like normal fans. They're unbelievable, and they spur the team on something else. But I mean, Villa can do it. I mean, if they carry on the way they're going, they're gelling well. They made some great signings, a great window. I mean, they've just stuffed the champions 7-2. I actually was travelling up to London when they were playing Liverpool, and I was actually passing Villa Park on the M6.
Oh, wow.
Listening to it on the radio, and it was just unbelievable. I just want to pull down Trinity Road and just park up. But I know, it's incredible.
Let's begin talking about your life story then. You could see that you're a massive admirer of Aston Villa Football Club, and you understand the club's ethos and the values of what makes a great Aston Villa supporter and just the story behind the club. But before we talk about your connection with Aston Villa, let's talk about your early days, life growing up. I believe you grew up in England, if I'm not mistaken. How was life growing up within the McGrath household?
It was wild. It was fun. It was exciting. You never knew what was happening. You could be 1 minute doing one thing, the next minute you're up to Birmingham or going to Manchester. It was just great. It was just an all-round great place to be, and it was just football mad growing up.
So, what was your relationship like with your family members? Because, of course, your dad was a prominent figure within the footballing scene, but what was your relationship like with your family in general?
It was good. I mean, obviously, you know, growing up, it's no secret that my dad is an alcoholic. So, I mean, we obviously had our, difficult times as a family. But, I mean, as a whole, it was amazing. I mean, I can't knock my upbringing. It was incredible. I mean, to get to travel to a different football game every weekend and watch your dad play on a football pitch is something for a kid to look up to your father is, amazing. And to have people from all walks of life, different countries, coming up to you and saying, "Oh, your dad's amazing. It's incredible." It is, and still to this day, it happens, and it's a blessing, really. And I'd never say anything bad about my upbringing. I had a great childhood. It's amazing.
Yeah. So I think an important relationship within a family is the siblings relationship. So for myself, I have my sister, I have two other sisters, and we may squabble, we may fight, but most importantly, we will look out for one another. So I believe you do have a brother. What's your relationship like with him? And do you believe that you can go to him and talk about other stuff? And are you constantly in contact with one another?
Yeah, there's 5 boys in our family.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So got 4 other brothers. Yeah, we're all close. We all get on. We always have done. We've always had that instilled in us. to look out for one another and be a close knit. I mean, we've got a good five-a-side football team going strong. No, jokes aside, yeah, we all love each other, and we always have done. Obviously, naturally, we fell out and have our bickering growing up, and we're all competing to be the best at everything all the time. Such a sporty household and stuff growing up, but you always want to kick lumps out your brother and tear each other apart and stuff. But ultimately, yeah, we all look out for each other and we all love each other.
So, regarding your parental figures, your dads and other people that took care of you, do you believe that you and your brothers, you were influenced by them in what profession you wanted to go into and pursue in later life?
Well, yeah. So my older brother Mitchell, he joined the Marines first. Obviously, we all wanted to be footballers. We all played football from a very young age. Growing up, every Sunday I feel actually my dad and my mum must have been run ragged now thinking about it back in the day, driving one to football here, one's football there. It was crazy, but no, we all wanted to be footballers. But then, obviously, going into your later life, you realise it might not happen, this, that, and the other. And my older brother Mitch, he was more rugby, and then he ended up joining the Royal Marines. So I saw how his life took a different path, and he was going out, travelling the world, keeping really fit, making lots of friends. And I just thought that's great, that challenge. And I ended up joining up myself, and what a decision that was. The best of my life, I think. Great career in the Marines, travelled all over the world, made some friends for life, and ultimately learned lessons and values that I can carry with me for the rest of my life. So
yeah,
it's great.
So how much do you, looking back then at the start of your career with the Marines and you as a person now, how much do you think you've changed over that time? What have you learned specifically about yourself?
Learn a lot. I've changed a hell of a lot. You can't help but change. They change you. It's a place like no other in the world. You have to be, they make sure you're mentally tough enough to pass the course. But I think lessons that I'll take with me is, just to be respectful and be determined in everything you do. Pursue everything with excellence, and just be confident and kind and confident.
So for a younger Jordan McGrath, then going into the Marines, what were you like as a person, and what things and what elements of the Marines did you find potentially intimidating? What did you find comforting? Just all in all, your experience the first few months, then what was that like within the Marines? Terrifying.
I think for anyone who goes down to the training centre in Livingston, I think every single person who goes down there thinks the same thing. When you walk through those gates, you can be as prepared as you want, but it's a man's world down there, and you can't prepare enough for it. Literally, when those gates closed, it's a different world, and you either sink or swim. I mean, and the learning curve is like that. It's just it's an unbelievable place, and without sounding cheesy, but it's the toughest course in the military. So it's but it's designed like that for a reason.
So you talk about that being the toughest course in the military. You pursuing that, what elements of it did you find tough? What can you explain to us what it was normally like?
It's for me, it was more the mental side of it. The physical, you don't have to be the fittest guy in the world to go down there. They'll get you fit. It's the mental games and the battles that you have in your own mind while you're there, when you're wet, cold, hungry, exhausted. That mental struggle not to give up and to carry on is something that they build you up. You either build with them or you break and you go. So I mean, it's very tough. I mean, I left the first time I joined after 24 weeks. I left, and I had to go back and start from the very beginning again. So I mean, I know what it's like to be broken But I knew as soon as I left, I made a mistake. So
Yeah.
I had to start right back on the bottom of the ladder again.
So, yeah, because we talk about on here a lot about being resilient. So I imagine that feeling with inside you, bear in mind that you've been taking part of that course of 24 weeks and you had to start all over again. Did that element of you strengthen so much?
Well, when I got back there, I didn't feel like I'd been strengthened. I felt like, oh, what have I got myself into again? No, but ultimately, you know, you want something so badly, and I just thought nothing's going to stop me this time. Plus, I couldn't leave the second time, so you know, it makes it that much sweeter when you pass it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was good.
Now, I imagine the social side of it as well, making new friends. Did you find that in your first few weeks and being part of the Marines? Did you make many friends during that time?
You can't. Well, yeah. I mean, the bond that you make is, you know, it's like none other in the world. When you go through some of the stuff with the types of people that you're trying to achieve the same goal, and some of the things you go through at some of the times when you're at your lowest, or you feel like you know, you're on your ass and you're cold and you're wet, and you've got a guy beside you who's willing to share a bit of hot food with you or something. You know, you can't help but make bonds, and you know, still friendships that I hold today, very close.
Yeah. So you talk as well at the beginning of this podcast. You talked about the fact that you learnt to respect one another and these feelings and emotions. You adapted into this new person. So coming out of the Marines, then did you speak towards your family members? Did you act towards your family members in a more respectful way, which consequently potentially strengthened your relationship with them?
Of course. And I'm pretty sure they saw a change as well. You know, just having that respect for and seeing the broader picture. You know, you go in the Marines, you travel to a lot of different places throughout the world. You see some nice stuff, you see some not so nice stuff, and it just opens your eyes to what really matters, and that can't help but change a person.
Yeah. What sort of places have you been to then traveling with the Marines? Because I imagine it's completely contrasting environments potentially.
Been all over the Caribbean with working alongside the Dutch Marines. Been to Afghanistan. Yeah, some nice places, some not so nice places. But worked over in a place called Diego Garcia in the middle of the Indian Ocean for 6 months.
Wow.
Which was gorgeous, you know. So there's a big contrast, and you're always with people who you're used to working with, or you know, similar people, different nationalities, but ultimately they're all doing the same job at the end of the day. It could be Army, it could be Marines, could be, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah. Did you ever feel isolated though? Bear in mind you're staying there for weeks upon weeks, months upon months. Did you ever feel lonely at times?
Maybe the odd time in Afghanistan, probably when you're in the middle of nowhere with literally probably about 100 Marines in a tiny little compound. You do feel a bit like, geez, we're just a load of lads from, you know, the UK out here in someone else's country. But I mean, but you've always got that reassurance of the guy left and right, you know. So
yeah,
and you're training to fall back on, and that's why the training's so tough, because at times like that, that's what ultimately keeps your head in the game.
Yeah. So as well, I think when you're in such cramped spaces and you're with your friends within the Marines, your fellow companions within the Marines, and you're going through and you're trying to complete these different assignments, etc. What emotions are running through you then when you're in such a tense situation potentially?
Every emotion you can imagine. I mean, you don't really think. Sometimes you don't really have time to think. But Marines have this great way of bringing humour to every single, you know, every single scenario. We have one of our commando qualities called cheerfulness in the face of adversity, and you know, we make light of sometimes harsh situations that in other walks of life people would be like, you're crazy to, you know, start making jokes and cracking funnies. But I think that is the commando humour and the Marines' sense of humour is a huge factor, especially when you're out in a area of the world such as Afghanistan. Gets a lot
Yeah.
of people through things.
Especially during this time, the coronavirus period, where many people are losing their lives.
Mm.
Have you seen people who have fought beside you potentially losing their lives during battle? And what emotions go through you then?
You can't prepare for it. It's just something that
Yeah.
you just can't prepare for it. It's you can do all the training you want, but when something like that happens, I mean, there's just nothing you can prepare for. But you've always got them people, around you to support you and lean on, and they'll always be there, no matter what situation you're going to be in. And it's a family in the Marines, and I know I can call on a guy who I've not really spoke to, but I know he's a Marine. I know he's going to look after me, no matter what the situation is.
Yeah. Do you still regularly talk to them now then in your life now?
Oh yeah. On a daily basis, talk to a lot of the lads and keep in contact. And we still have our groups on the WhatsApp, and and we try and meet up every now and again. But you've got it's a bond that you'll always have, and we always will. Touch wood.
So as well, during your time in the Marines, you've experienced different feelings, different drastic emotional times within your life. And one thing that came out through it, bear in mind, you talked about the fact that when you join the Marines, you may not be the fittest person ever, but the training will potentially cause you to be the fittest version of yourself. Now, you've gained a love for fitness during your time in the Marines, and we've now seen you regularly. I've searched Instagram, and you've got many pictures of you training in the gym with your dad as well, and other family members and your friends. So how important does fitness play within your life nowadays?
Well, it's just I feel like it gets embedded into you. I feel like more positive when I do work out. I feel like you're setting yourself up to be. I want to be the healthiest version of myself I can be. I've always strived to be the best version of myself. I just enjoy keeping myself in good order, relatively good order anyway. I'm by no means the fittest person, or probably the fittest I can be at the minute. But it's just I've always been into fitness, done sports, and then obviously going in the Marines, you're forced sort of to become fit to keep up. So yeah, I've just been used to it, keeping fit, and it's just a part of everyday life really for me now.
Yeah. So for myself, when I participate in fitness related activities, it really improves my mental health. So we talked about the fact that you potentially may be going through tough times during the Marines, your time there. Do you believe that working out and fitness related activities, bear in mind they may be strenuous at the time, really improves your mental health?
100%, 100%, definitely. I believe you learn a lot about yourself by learning how far you can push your own body, and and it strengthens you mentally 100%. Because when you learn so much about yourself when you feel like you're on your bootlaces and you can't go any further, and then you end up completing something. I mean, it sets you up for different tasks throughout life, not just physical training, but in every walk of life. Whether it be business or work related or anything. I can do this because I did that. Push through this barrier. That's what I believe anyway.
Yeah, so we talked about the fact that if you didn't join the Marines, your life may have took a different turn. And you talk about the fact that you took this mentality, which you developed through the Marines, into your life now. And you now go forth and try and attempt to achieve things in that manner. So when you're talking to your family members or your friends that didn't participate within the Marine organisation, do you try and encourage them to do the same? Do you try and teach others your way and how you cope during different times?
Oh yeah, my experiences in the Marines and dealing with and pushing through hardships. If I believe that I can encourage someone or give someone an example of how this is going to benefit them in the long run, or how they can push through adversity, then of course, I mean, I can't help but have, you know, examples of that. And in everyday life, it's some of the things in the Marines, not many people can really understand or even believe that some of the things have happened. But I mean, you can't help but, if someone's going through something, or a brother of mine, or this, that, and the other, struggling with something, then of course, going to try and guide them and give them help and advice.
Yeah.
Of course.
So you talk about the bond as well within your peers and fellow Marines. Now, you're, as we talked about, you're wearing the Dubai Lions shirt. Do you believe that something like sport during your time there and with your friends, it's a massive way in making new friends and keeping contact with one another due to maybe contrasting, due to rivalries or contrasting preferences within players and teams? So during your time at the Marines and in life now, do you believe that sport can improve your relationship with your friends and your family and connect you with one another?
Definitely. We used to play sports all the time in the Marines. I mean, whether it, not even just for fun in troops, like not many of us could even play football, to be fair. But I think rugby's the biggest sport in the Marines, the Royal Marines. My brother Mitch actually played rugby for the Marines. But football and sports, there's so much emphasis on being able to do what sport you want in the Marines. They'll give you time off to go away and do the sports, and you know, they're great with when it comes to doing what you want with sport. And yeah, we played a lot of sport. I think it definitely brings you together, especially in that circle. I mean, anything that brings you closer is a good thing. We used to play football in our body armour, you know, we're running around with, just to get used to the weight of it. And not many of us could kick snow for rope, to be honest. By that stage, I lost all coordination. But you know, it was great. Yeah.
What position, when you played these games, just out of interest, really, what positions would you play? And
I'd be a defender.
Yes, same here.
All day. Basically, because I'm lazy and I don't like doing a lot of running around, so I'll just sit at the back and hope that the forwards keep the ball up there. But
yeah. Now, on the pitch, we'll talk about your dad, your father, Paul McGrath, just briefly. He was a fantastic player, and based on his performances on the pitch alone and how he rose through the ranks and arguably is Ireland's best defender and one of Villa's greatest players of all time. Looking at him on the pitch, did you learn certain emotions and how to cope with certain things due to your dad's mentality on the pitch, in terms of resilience, in terms of always working hard, your tenaciousness? Did you learn that from him based on his performances on the pitch alone?
I think definitely. I think you couldn't help as a kid, especially his son. I mean, watching him, you know, lose sometimes, watching his frustrations, have an evening at home, or watching his being over the moon after the game, whether it be in the lounge or watching all the players, not just him, watching their moves. And as a young kid growing up, looking up and seeing what sort of vibe there was, and I think played a massive factor. And my dad's a very strong person, and I don't just mean on the pitch. He's conquered a lot of adversity in his life, and he's definitely shown us growing up that always be strong, and you can do anything you want. Well, he's always told us that anything you want to do, you can do it, and he's the greatest example of that. You know what I mean? Coming from where he came from.
Yeah. So you talk about as well his developing himself off the pitch. So you talk about you going to the Royal Marines and you developing your own mentality. So now these days, and during the early stages of your life, did you look at your dad and did you try and, I don't know, better yourself in your situation and learn from him and help him as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've always coached each other, you know, through life. And I mean, even times in the Marines in training, you'd ring him and he'd always coach you through it and say, look, you can do this. And I'd ring him whinging down the phone saying, oh, I've been wet cold for the last week, and my knees are battered. And he says, "Oh, well, my knees are too," and all this. Just having, just be there and coach you through the hard times. And I've done it myself to him. We've got this great relationship, and may it continue.
Yeah. So what have been some of your favourite games, football games, that you've seen your dad participate in?
Jesus. To be honest, my favourite one. Well, I mean, people always say to me, Giant Stadium, Ireland, Italy. I've watched. I don't remember, but I've watched it since loads of times, and I just think, because to be honest, I was very young when my dad was playing. I remember Villa. I remember going down to Villa all the time, and I remember, being in and out of with the players and stuff as a young kid. But the games themselves, I wouldn't remember particular games. But I mean, looking back, people say how good he was and stuff like that. And we watched these odd games, and that game for Ireland was just unbelievable. Baggio, and that's got to be your favourite for me, anyway. I mean, that's got to be my favourite.
Yeah. Now, your dad was a prominent figure, as I said, within the Irish footballing organisation. He was arguably one of their best players of all time. So for you yourself, life off the pitch for him, what's your connection like with your Irish relatives? Do you have a strong connection with the country?
Oh, unbelievable. I'm always over there, I'm always, Ireland's, home to me, really. Spent so much time there growing up, and Dad lives there now, and we're always back and forth. It's just been a huge part of my life, Ireland, and I love that place, and I always will. And the family members, we're maybe, because I'm over here, we're over here, they're over there. But I mean, it's always been the same. We all love each other, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I've been to Ireland myself. My nan and granddad used to live over there, and it's a great place. And specifically where they lived in the county of Tipperary, but it's quite a isolated. Yeah, it's isolated area, really. But for my past life, I've done things with the media, I've done schoolwork, and life is always very busy. So to go to somewhere like Ireland, I know there's different places, more rural and more urban areas, but to go to specifically where my nan and granddad used to live, it was quite a nice, peaceful place, and it gave me time myself to reflect on me and just have some nice time away from England. Did you feel that wherever you went in Ireland?
Oh, Ireland just has this strange. Every time I go to Ireland, I say to my friends, I say, you won't understand, but when you step off that plane, you just take a big deep breath of that air. It's just, honestly, when you just feel at home. I just feel like Ireland has this strange way of making you feel like, just it's like family. It's just a great positive place, and I've got nothing but good thoughts when I think of Ireland. It's amazing, and like you said, the rural areas and this and the other, you just can't beat it. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah. So, big decision here. So, for example, this is a hypothetical situation, but if England were playing Ireland, who would you support?
Ireland,
okay.
All day.
Fair enough. I mean, my granddad's different.
Not that I don't support England when they're playing, but if they came up against Ireland, I'm Ireland all day. I have to be.
Fair enough, because my granddad's different, because specifically for the rugby as well, Ireland and England, great teams within the Six Nations, and if Ireland were to win, you support Ireland. If England were to win, you support England. So different situation over here, but I totally respect the fact that you would go to Ireland.
Yeah.
So moving forward then in your life, you talk about going into them as a model, the modelling industry, you talk about your fitness work. What do you want to achieve now? Looking your predictions for the next 10 years, what do you want to set out for yourself? What do you want to achieve in this time?
No, I just love being happy. I just want to be happy in everyday life, and I'm blessed. that I live the life that I live. You know, I've got great people around me. Family's closer than ever. You know, my brother's having kids, and it's great. I'm blessed just to be able to spend time with my family and enjoy the time that is now. You know, I live every day, you know, to the fullest, and I don't believe in wasting any time. You know, if you want to do something, then strive, work hard, and go and do it. And that's the way I live.
Yeah.
And that's the way I always will live now, I think.
Yeah. Talk about some key values there before we leave then. For anyone, any youngster who's watching this, or anyone who's watching this at all, whatever age, and they want to potentially look to strive in a certain profession or do well in a certain test or just be really good at a specific thing, what 3 words would you really emphasize that should be prevalent within them? So potentially resilience, potentially tenaciousness, being really hardworking. What 3 words would you say for them to be in order to achieve in whatever they want to achieve?
Courage, determination, and unselfishness.
Why those specifically then for you?
Courage, because you've got to push yourself out, step out into the unknown. Sometimes, if you hide and you're scared and you're scared of a situation, then it's a good thing. Push yourself through it, and you'll be and the sense of achievement will be that much greater. Determination, never give up. Never give up on anything. You can do what you want in this life, like effort. Put the effort in. Effort's only between you and you. That's it. You put the effort in, then only you can look back and say, you know what, I didn't do that, but I put the effort in. And you know if you put the effort in or not. And unselfishness, just be the best person you can be, and treat people how you'd expect to be treated. And that's it.
I think that's a fantastic way to finish this interview. Jordan, thank you very much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Liam, appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you to Jordan. Thank you to everyone who has listened or watched this podcast. Make sure to leave a like if you're watching on YouTube, and subscribe to the Total Villain if you haven't already. Most importantly, though, stay safe and stay well during these times. But most importantly, up the Villa.
Up the Villa. Come on, boys.
What I keep being too caught up